Hello everyone, I'm Shruti Kumtekar, Marketing Manager at Cloves. Thank you for joining us in our monthly webinar. Today we will be discussing service catalog capabilities in Jakarta. Let me go over the agenda quickly. We'll talk about housekeeping, a little about Cloves, followed by a presentation on the service catalog capabilities, and finally Q&A. This webinar will be recorded, so if you miss something, you will be able to access it later. The Q&A session will be towards the end of the webinar, and you're on mute. So if you have any questions, please use the questions or comment section in your GoToWebinar control panel, and I will read them out for our panelists. If you have any questions that are not directly related to the webinar, please email me at shruti@closing.com or sales@closing.com. Our social media channels are listed here. You can access our previous webinars at our Close YouTube channel. A little about Cloves. We are a ServiceNow partner since 2011, based out of Santa Clara, very close to the ServiceNow headquarters. We are a full ServiceNow shop with 150 plus customers and close to 50 consultants, and we have been executing projects globally. In terms of services, we provide end-to-end services. Our focus this year has been on CSM, end user portals, enterprise service management. Our panelists today are Parikshit Sharma, Madhu Banerjee, and Darla Wolf, all from Cloves. Parikshit, looking forward to knowing more about the service catalog capabilities. Thank you, and I'm going to pass control to you.
Thank you so much, Shruti, for introducing us. So everybody can see my screen, and let me put it on for you. So hello guys, welcome to Glove's monthly webinar. The topic for today is understanding ServiceNow capabilities in Jakarta. So I will be showing you a few screenshots and the uh, backend from the ServiceNow instance. I'm going to show you some capabilities, what have been introduced in Jakarta release, how we have as Cloves we have been able to use it in some few of our clients. Um, then we're going to go over some of the workflows capabilities that have been enhanced in Jakarta release. So followed by a Q&A session. Before that, we're going to do a quick recap of the Istanbul release, what was introduced, and how people have been using it in the industry, and what benefit it gives to the end user. So, quick recap of Istanbul catalog. There were two variable types that was introduced: email and URL variable types, where you can that comes with the out of the box validation scripts. These validation scripts are sc underscore email, sc underscore URL. Those validation scripts on the catalog item check whether the right email address with the domain name and the uh, @ was incorporated in the text or not. Then the next validation script for URL, it checks whether the HTTPS, HTTP, or www was entered by the user in the URL or not. So let me show you from the form side, how does it look in the catalog form. As you can see over here, user would enter its email ID, let's say Parikshit Sharma glovesinc.com, and let's say we enter our email ID. So this will get easily passed, and this form will get submitted easily. But if I remove my @ and I think this will not be entered. I should get an error out of it. So as you can see, the validation scripts check the two variables, and it says please enter the following fields contain invalid text. So I need to fix the entry of these two fields. Okay, and if I enter at the rate here, if I enter www.closing, and this will allow the form to submit. Okay, so this was about the email and URL. The next is the customizable variable display. So uh, this means that the variable width of the of any field is now customizable. You don't have to set the variable field according to the complete catalog form. You can adjust it uh, about 100% or 25% or within that range, whatever suits the requirement. Let me just give you a quick preview of how that looks. So under the type specification in the variable form, you're going to go to type specification, and within that you will see a variable width field. You can select uh, any of the width type and submit the form. So this will increase the width of the field to 100%, and it will expand uh, throughout the screen of the form. Okay. Uh, Third very cool feature that was introduced in Istanbul was wish list. Wish list basically is just like a, a Amazon like wish list where you can enter the form partially, and then you can come back to the form and enter the complete form afterwards. So sometimes we have a very lengthy form. We don't have all the information in the um, while we are entering the form. We go back, we put it on into the wish list, and when we come back to the instance again, we can just uh, click on the wish list items and come to the form. The I was talking about wish list. So the wish list, with wish list, we can review our wish list later and complete the form ordering later on, and then submit the form. And basically, you can start from uh, where you uh, where you paused or when you added the form to the wish list. So this feature is right now the limitation of this form is that it doesn't work for order guides and wizards, but for service catalog and for regular items, um, you can use wish lists. And I think from Kingston release, this wish list will be available in service portal also. So right now, only backend users has the ability to catch wish list. All right. The feature that we got in Istanbul release was reports on record producers. There were some out-of-the-box reports that came with the instance, and it let us know what uh, what forms were created by the record producers, and it gives a, a pie chart, or it gives a bar chart of how many record producers were created um, on the record by the instance. Okay. So moving on to what's new in Jakarta, and that's the topic of today. So the debug UI customization, it's a very helpful tool for developers um, to check what was customized, what has changed with the upgrade, how does it impact the future upgrade. So this is like a quick health check on all the catalog items. um, and it's available for all the catalog administrators to check their catalog items regularly. It's also have a self-healing path where it can rectify the catalog item by itself. It helps us identifying the source of broken functionality. It could be due to UI macro that's causing the problem, and with the new release, it got broken. And yeah, so those kind of reports can be diagnostic reports can be captured from the UI form easily. So let me just quickly show you how does that look in the instance. So if you go to the uh, catalog administrator, you would see uh, two new modules called debug UI and disable UI customization. So this works exactly same um, like the debugger, the out of the box debugger from ServiceNow. So you can enable this by selecting this module, and once you select this in the in the catalog form, you will find that there is a new customizations diagnostic tab that appears. It tells you what was changed, what is the state of that catalog item of that macro, how does it impact uh, the how does it impact the catalog form. So all the macros are a full diagnostic of the macros are listed over here. Okay. Uh, the next very cool feature in Jakarta is the variable watcher. So just like field watcher, we have a variable watcher now, which tells us about the client scripts that form has, about the catalog UI policies, about the data lookups. So uh, if we put a variable watcher on a catalog item, it will um, give us that complete report on the form. Okay, so let me just quickly show you how does that look in the form. So I have that. Yeah, for this variable, I have the variable watcher turned on. So uh, I can quickly turn it off, go back and say watch variable. So it opens up a tab at the bottom and tells me um, which all client script, what all UI policies, what all data lookups are affecting that variable. Okay. Um, the next one is the variable editor. So as you know, previously it was very hard to get the variable editors, the form question and answer into the um, record producers. So something like if you're creating a HR case from a record producer, you have to customize the HR form to get the variables from the record producer into the table, into the HR case table. But now through V edits, uh, it comes out of the box, and uh, it is easily configurable, and we can just quickly add the variable editor section uh, to the record producer. So it's a pretty cool feature to look around. Okay, the next is the new. There are a few new variable types that are added in Jakarta. First one is the IP address. So it helps us in capturing IPv4 and v6 data from the catalog writer, and it also comes with the data validation scripts. So yeah, I will just let me just quickly show you that how does that look in the catalog item form. I think it was, yes, this tab. So if you see, enter the IP address. I have, if I enter an incorrect IP address, it will give me a bug. It will throw me an alert message and ask me to enter the IP address again. But if I put it in the right format, 192, let's say 1.1.1, this will allow, this will submit the form. So the extra validation rules are there for each variable type, and it's out of the box. We don't have to write the script for them. Same thing for duration type of variable, as we see that um, the duration is that we can capture the duration uh, in the catalog item. Previously, it was available only on the ServiceNow backend forms. So it's very good. So apart from these, we have a new we have macro type variables on, and also we have macro with variable with label. So and also UI page as a variable type. And these with these three variable types, we can have our custom settings. We can put a pop-up on the screen and create our own uh, a service portal widget to capture more data. We did it for one of our clients to put attendees on a meeting request form, so it was very good use of it. Then all these macro with label and UI page, these are supported in service portal. So these are compliant with service portal. It's easy to uh, make it work in service portal. And also now service portal supports 2-column layouts, and you can now whatever configuration we set in the variable set, um, it basically honors that uh, and change the form layout in the service portal. The next very good feature is the help text. Now for every field we can put an example text to the string field, and it appears in light gray, and as you start entering it, it just disappears. It's something just like this search for a script or field name that's in this. So that's very helpful for the end user to enter the forms. Okay. The next is the variable set extension. So what does that mean is when you apply the UI policies and the glide form APIs on a variable set, it gets applied on the complete variables of that variable set. So you don't have to write the scripts for each variable. Just write the script for that particular variable set, and it will be applied in all the variables. So something like you want to make variables read only, or you want to make them mandatory, or you want to change the display of the variables with some action. All of these functions can be achieved by applying script on the variable set rather than the actual variable. Um, Then the next is the catalog item. The variables that are associated with the variable set have the variable set name associated with them. So that means when the when we when we enter a variable set uh, UI policy, the variables get associated with that particular variable set. You don't have to associate the variable with the catalog item. And the last thing is about the automated test framework for service catalog. We can write with this catalog administrators now can write automated tests to validate their catalog item. Uh, Now, because the service catalog is supported with the automated test framework, and we can write end-to-end test for requesters and fulfillers. Um, so yeah, so some of the functions that can be performed by ATF are like search for a catalog item or a record producer, open a specific catalog item or record producer, or you can set variable values. We can set item quantity, um, validate variable values, validate variable states, validate variable price, uh, and adding items to the shopping cart, order or submitting a form. So all of this uh, can be run in an automated testing framework. And next is about the record producer. So as you can see, as you must have encountered, we always get a problem of redirection in the service catalog, sorry, in the record producer. So redirection of the service catalog is now a configurable, not customizable. You have to just uh, give the right URL in the record producer. The last thing is the variable action logger. What does that mean is we can, in a catalog form, we can see what all the action that were performed on these variables using this. You right click on the header and there is a menu for show action logger, and then you can see all the script names. If there were any changes on the field, it will display over here, and it's very good to diagnose and see what all client scripts are running on these forms. All right, so moving on to the next section of the webinar is the development capabilities and in workflow. So for our clients, what we have done is put a wait for condition for uh, so wait for attachment condition. That is something uh, custom that we built for our clients. So basically, the workflow will be waiting until the requester has attached a file, a particular format of file, that is let's say an Excel file. Until that particular file is attached to the RITM, the workflow will not move to the next step. So those kind of features, this kind of functionality uh, was enabled in Jakarta. Before that, I don't think it was possible. Um, so using the wait for condition, we have created a wait for attachment activity for uh, that's custom. Then within a catalog task, we have created a reject path. So rather than always going to the next step, the catalog tasks, there was a particular requirement where we had where the fulfillers could actually um, reject the catalog task and go through the rejection path. So this was uh, another condition that was added to the the catalog activity. The third one is the run export set. That means now the export set is a new addition to the Jakarta release, where you can create where you can create a file in XML format uh, or in PDF format, and then you can send that file through the MIT server to any location in your in your network. So to trigger that uh, flow from ServiceNow to MIT server to the company's network, the workflow run script and um, the workflows run script was created, and the that triggered the export set uh, activity. So this is another very cool feature that where we got it in Jakarta, the export set feature. Um, then these are few of the more customization that we did it on a catalog form, and all of these are compliant in Service Portal. So first one is the save as draft. So as you can see, we built a new button called save as draft, and once you save it, all the variables that you enter on the form gets captured in a temporary table. And once you revisit the form, it will ask you, do you want to uh, apply the apply the variables from the previous saved draft, or you want to create a new one. So if you do cancel on this, it will give a new blank form. But otherwise, if you say okay, I want to apply the saved draft, it will just auto-populate those saved fields. Um, the next thing is about adding multiple users in a form. So as you can see on this on right bottom of my screen, um, we have we had a requirement for adding multiple SQL databases. Similarly, we can do the same thing for adding multiple users. So let's say there is a meeting request form and you want to add all the attendees of that meeting. So you can just like here we have add more databases, we can have add more attendees, and that will open a pop-up on the screen. Um, you can you can create a number of fields over here like name, location, job title, makes it easy, and then you can uh, submit and you can add more attendees, or just like here we have add more another databases. You can add more databases on this same form. So there are multiple use cases of this multiple of this new macro that we created. Uh, you can have databases as an example, or add attendees. Then you can add uh, if you want to grant accesses to multiple users, you can uh, you can add all the users in one pop-up form and grant the access at once. Uh, there's one more which I'm doing is for office move. If there is a move of multiple users from one location to another, uh, you can create a form just like this to enter all their names, their SysIDs, and their user IDs and everything, uh, and have one request for all the users rather than creating multiple requests. Okay. Then the next feature that we recently built was copy from previous request. This is another UI macro that we created that's gonna copy all the data from the previous request entered by the same logged in user, and it's gonna auto populate on the screen. It's it's very cool feature which calls a the UI macro calls a script include in the backend, and the script include checks the user's uh, last logged request and pushes uh, those variables on the front end or on the form. So yeah, this is the use case of this feature was whenever there is a rejection and the user want to uh, user want to enter the form again, so he does not want to enter the complete form again, and basically he wants a very quick and easy way to copy the previous form that he entered. So um, whenever there is a revision path, we have to create a new request, but what we can do is make it easier for the end user in submitting the form. All right. So the other customization that we did was um, acknowledgement button. So you must have encountered many times that there are some policies that user has to acknowledge before submitting the form, right? So we created a similar button on the form that will give us a pop-up on the catalog form, and so the user is compliant to uh, read through the form and say accept or reject. So without uh, accepting or rejecting the form, he won't be able to submit the form. So even if he rejects the form, he won't be able to submit the form. He has to accept the UI policies, and then only he can submit the form uh, with this new UI macro that we created. So the next is the export set that I just talked about. Basically, the run script that was in the workflow is going to call this export set sysid and trigger this export set. And over here we define the export set definition, which is the server address or the target address. Um, and then we can have, right now in this example it's an XML file, but we can send the JSON format or a PDF or XML. I think there were a couple of others, but yeah, this is a very new feature in Jakarta where you, instead of just like import set, we have an export set, the file going from ServiceNow uh, to the target instance, to the target uh, server, and all this just there's one limitation to this. All this file will be captured in the mid server itself. The file path has to be relative to the mid server. So from the mid server to uh, the XYZ location, for that there has to be um, another customization at the server level. But with this, we can only export the file to the mid server. Right. Okay, so that was it all about um, the new customizations, the new features in Jakarta. Um, the new If you guys have any questions, anything you want me to repeat, I will be happy to do so. If anything you want more details on, um, I will be happy to explain you. Um,
Yes, I think thank you for the presentation, and we do have a bunch of questions actually. So the first question is, will IP address validation also handle IPv6?
Yes, yes, it has IPv6 and IPv4 validation inbuilt, and that's all out of the box. So the validation script is already present in this with this release.
Okay. The next question is, can you save multiple drafts?
Correct. Yes, you can save a draft and you can you can update the same draft. Um, so basically, once you hit save, the button is going to change into a update button rather than a save button. So yes, we can save multiple drafts.
Okay, thank you. The next question is, are any of these functions that Cloves created available for customers to purchase?
Uh, that I think we need to talk with the sales team. But yes, I think definitely Cloves will be happy um, to help you out with this. So I
Okay, I
think
think we can proceed offline on that.
correct. Yes.
All right. How does the system know what previous request is it? How will the system know what previous request? Is it only limited to the very last request submitted by the user?
Yes, that is absolutely correct. So right now the function was to get the last request from whatever was created for that particular catalog item form and and auto-populate on the screen. Uh, but this can also be extended, and we can instead of just copying the last request, we can also put a list of all the RITMs, and user will basically select that particular RITM. Uh, but uh, yes, that is a possibility we can do. That's an extension that we can do. But in this feature, in this use case, we are copying the last request.
Okay, next question. What about the notion of a catalog table variable? The version available in share.servicenow.com is not great. Is ServiceNow ever going to offer this functionality?
Um, so the notion of variable, uh, can you repeat the question again,
Sure,
Shruti?
sure. Yeah. What about the notion of a catalog table variable? The version available on share.servicenow.com is not great. Is ServiceNow ever going to offer this functionality?
Um, I'm not sure whether it's going to be in ServiceNow path anytime in future, but uh, the catalog tables, uh, the catalog table annotations,
Let me,
the
PK,
yeah,
let
go
me
ahead.
go ahead and answer that. Thanks for that question. This is Darla Wolf. So with regards to the capacity or the capability to display tables or Excel type of variables in the service portal specifically, and even the backend of the platform, I don't know if we don't really know if that's going to be within ServiceNow's development path. Obviously, if that is really something in demand, we recommend that we put in an enhancement request. The more possibly the more enhancement requests of the same thing, it may be possible that ServiceNow will incorporate it. We've done a lot of requests similar to that, and it is a bit of a challenge. But because Service Portal leverages the new technologies such as Bootstrap, Angular, a little bit of technical study on it would make it the information available in Share, I'm pretty sure, can be customized or become more robust.
Okay, thank you, Darla. Um, so those are all the questions that I have so far. I think we can give the users maybe a couple more minutes uh, to um, to type in their questions, in the questions or comments section in the GoToWebinar panel. So attendees, once again, if you have any questions or comments, please go ahead and type it in your GoToWebinar control panel, and our panelists here will answer. Okay, so we have one more question here. Are we getting last request of same item request by person to copy details variables to variables? Do you want me to do that again?
Yes, please.
Okay. Are we getting last request of same item request by person to copy details variables to variables?
Correct. We are getting the last request that was entered by the logged in user. We are checking what the logged in user is and copying his requests variable into the variable, and we are mapping the last variables. We are mapping the variable to variable. Yes, you're absolutely right.
Okay, so I think that's pretty much the last question that we had for this webinar. So users, if you have any more questions, do feel free to reach us at sales@closing.com or Shruti, SHRUTI@closing.com. And thank you so much for attending our webinar today. And thank you once again, Parikshit, Madhu, and Darla. And we'll see you all next month for our next close webinar. Happy holidays.
Thank you, guys. Happy holidays.